We are starting this broadcast with a developing story from West Asia, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says, "We are at war." After the nation woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip, at least one person has been killed in Israel and 15 others injured, as the militants from the Palestinian enclave also infiltrated Israel. And in retaliation, Israel has launched air raids on Gaza with dozens of jets. In what comes as the biggest offensive against Israel following 2021's 10-day war, the armed wing of the Hamas rulers of Gaza Strip have declared the launch of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. Hamas has also called on the resistant fighters in the West Bank, as well as other Arab and Islamic nations, to join the battle. The Hamas group says over 5,000 rockets have been fired since the break of dawn. Israeli minister says Hamas made a grave mistake by launching a war against Israel. Israel's President Isaac Herzog says it is a difficult time for Israel. Air raid sirens wailed across Israel's south and central areas, including in Jerusalem, Rehovot and Ashkelon. Multiple fires broke out across these cities after the rockets struck. In Gaza, the militants even claimed taking over Israeli military assets, including tanks and armored vehicles. A Hamas brigade has released images showing what they say is their members penetrating the Israel-Gaza border fence and patrolling on the Israeli side. Buckling up to thwart the incoming attack, the Israeli Defense Forces launched air raids in Gaza under the Operation Iron Swords. Israel's security forces have been ordered to clear infiltrated towns and to call out the reservists. Israeli army says Hamas will face the consequences and responsibility for these events. Israel's top-level security cabinet is holding a meeting amid the surprise Hamas attack. Meanwhile, international community has condemned Hamas attack, including Germany, Greece, Belgium, the European Union and others. Countries like the US and India have also issued advisories for their citizens in Israel. The latest fire follows a period of heightened tensions in September when Israel closed the border to Gazan workers for 2 weeks. The shutdown, the crossing, came as Palestinian protests rocked the heavily militarized border. Critics had slammed the border closure as collective punishment against thousands of Palestinian workers. Meanwhile, the months-long anti-judicial reform protests have been called off in the wake of the latest attacks. All right, we are following the developments in Israel, and the Indian Foreign Ministry has issued an advisory for Indian nationals in Israel. I'll read part of the advisory that has been given by the Indian ministry before we move on to our correspondent, Sidhan Sibol. It says, in view of the current situation in Israel, all Indian nationals in Israel are requested to remain vigilant and observe safety protocols as advised by local authorities. Please exercise caution, avoid unnecessary movement, and stay close to safety shelters. They've given their website there for additional information on what you need to do if you are in Israel. Our correspondent Sidhan Sibol is joining us on phone right now. Sidhan Sibol, what's the latest from the Foreign Ministry?
Well, you've already mentioned about the advisory. Now, Indian government rarely issues advisories, and when the Indian government issues advisory, that means the situation is really bad. Now, in the past, Indian government issued advisory during the situation that happened in South Sudan, and before that in Ukraine. Now, let me give you an insight on the number of Indian nationals in Israel. There are approximately 18,000 Indian nationals in Israel, out of which 900 are students, which are basically doing their doctoral and postdoctoral level education. When it comes to these 18,000 Indian nationals, many of them are employed as caregivers and also employed by Israeli elders to take care of them, diamond traders and IT professionals as well. But essentially, that's a large number of Indian presence in a country which has a population which is very, very less as compared to India. So this is a situation that the Indian government is closely monitoring, and of course, Indian government will be keeping a tab on. We are still awaiting an official word from the Indian government as to how they see the situation in Israel unfolding, but an advisory being issued by the Indian government is a point that the Indian government is making sure that Indians, first of all, are safe, and also the Indian government is treating the situation very, very in a concerned way.
All right, apart from the advisory that India has given to the citizens living in Israel, some other countries, including the United Kingdom, has condemned the attack, or what they're calling horrific attacks, on Israeli civilians. Britain's Foreign Minister James Cleverly condemned the attacks on Israel by Palestinian militants from the Gaza Strip. The UK unequivocally condemns the horrific attacks by Hamas on Israeli civilians. The UK will always support Israel's right to defend itself. This is according to the UK or Britain's foreign minister. India has not given or has not condemned this war so far. Sidhant Sibol, what do you expect from the Indian side? Because Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that the country is at war.
Well, we are still awaiting the word from the Indian government, but pretty sure that the Indian government will be coming out with some kind of reaction, given the close relationship India has with Israel and the number of Indians who are present in Israel. Now, we know that the Israeli ambassador to Delhi has come out and also thanked India and the Indian people for the support. In fact, he has issued a statement saying that we appreciate the support of the people of India as we stand firm against the first face of terrorism. He pointed out that over 2,000 missiles and rockets were launched on the cities on a Jewish holiday, and really and mentioned that how this attack was planned by Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. So I'm pretty sure that the reaction will be coming from the Indian government, even as several global governments have already reacted, from UK to Russia and Ukraine as well. So essentially, this is an ongoing situation, and we do expect that in every moment there will be some kind of reaction or development that will be coming not only from Israel but across the world.
All right, I've been talking to our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sidhant Sibol, on phone, who is actually emphasizing on the India's action to this, what is happening in Israel, and it has issued an advisory to citizens living in Israel. I'll again read the advisory for our own viewers' benefit. The advisory was issued by the Foreign Ministry in India, and it reads in part that in view of the current situation in Israel, all Indian nationals in Israel are requested to remain vigilant and observe safety protocols as advised by local authorities. Please exercise caution, avoid unnecessary movement, and stay close to safety shelters. For additional information, they've given a website there, which is www.oref. That's www.oref.org.il/English. Once again, www.oref.org.il/En. And for more on this, we were earlier joined by Dr. Mir Elran. Dr. Elran is a former brigadier general and a senior researcher at the Institute for National Security Studies. This is what he had to say.
Well, I'm presently in the town of Tel Aviv, which is the largest, one of the two largest towns in Israel. And there is a war that actually started, 5 hours ago, when militias of Hamas, which is the Palestinian movement, responsible for the Gaza Strip to our south, opened a surprise attack on Israel, which is composed of two main components. One is a very major rocket assault on Israel. So far as I understand, more than 2,500 rockets have been launched in the last 5 hours against the central part of Israel, and with quite a lot of damage that has been made, and also some people that have been killed, as far as I'm informed as of now. So this is one trajectory of the offensive. The other trajectory was an infiltration to the settlements and towns in the border between Israel and Gaza, which is, as I said before, governed by the Palestinian Hamas movement. So this has been quite a extensive kind of penetration into the localities, both towns and the agricultural communities next to the border. Altogether, it is going on now for, as I said, quite a few hours. It's very severe. It was a surprise attack on Israel. Nobody really expected that. We have quite a few casualties. Some people apparently have also been taken custody, kidnapped, so to speak, by the Hamas warriors. And right now, the IDF is pushing back, and hopefully this will end this particular episode, but not necessarily the war. Started, as I said this morning, in Israel. Things about what they say. First of all, they are using lots of misinformation and disinformation, so we can't really count on what they are saying. But apparently, it's unfortunately true that they have taken custody of a few people. Some of them apparently are soldiers and some of them are civilians. And I would not be surprised if that was the major tactical component of their assault, looking for an exchange of prisoners, and of course changing the overall strategic equation between Israel and Hamas's political position within the Palestinian people and leadership.